Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel today. We bring you breaking developments from the Middle East where tensions between Israel and Hamas have reached a dangerous new level. After weeks of fragile calm, the ceasefire has completely collapsed, and both sides are once again locked in violent confrontation. Hamas has officially vowed to punish Israel, accusing it of violating the ceasefire and starting what it calls a new war. The atmosphere across Gaza and southern Israel is filled with fear, uncertainty, and a sense that another devastating conflict is about to unfold. Reports coming in from Gaza indicate that multiple explosions have been heard in the early hours of the morning, with Israeli airstrikes targeting what they describe as Hamas command centers and rocket storage sites. The Israeli Defense Forces say these operations were launched in response to renewed rocket attacks from Gaza aimed at civilian areas across southern Israel, while Hamas claims that Israel broke the truce first by conducting raids and arresting Palestinians in the West Bank, which they call a clear act of provocation. In Gaza City, sirens echo through the night as residents rush to shelters. The sound of drones fills the air and the sky is illuminated by bursts of fire from Israeli jets. Eyewitnesses describe chaos on the ground, with families fleeing their homes unsure of where to go as explosions rock neighborhoods. Entire buildings have been reduced to rubble and hospitals already, overwhelmed, are struggling to treat the growing number of wounded civilians. The humanitarian situation is worsening rapidly as fuel shortages and power cuts return to the besieged enclave. Hamas released an official statement saying that Israel will pay a heavy price for violating the ceasefire. The group's spokesperson declared that this marks the beginning of a new phase of resistance and that Israel's attacks would not go unanswered according to Hamas. They are prepared for a long struggle and have activated their rocket units to target Israeli military installations and major cities including Tel Aviv and Ashkelon. This announcement has raised alarms across the region with fears that the situation could escalate beyond Gaza. The Israeli government has responded with determination. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held an emergency security meeting with top military and intelligence officials, stating that Israel will defend itself with full force and will not allow Hamas to dictate terms of peace or war. He accused Hamas of trying to exploit the ceasefire to rebuild its military capabilities and smuggle weapons into Gaza through underground tunnels. Israeli officials insist that the strikes are purely defensive actions aimed at stopping ongoing rocket fire from Gaza. As the conflict intensifies, both sides are trading accusations, while civilians bear the brunt of the violence. Israeli towns near the border have been placed on high alert with rocket sirens sounding repeatedly. The Iron Dome defense system has intercepted dozens of rockets, but several have made it through, causing damage to homes, vehicles, and infrastructure across multiple cities. Meanwhile, in Gaza, the Israeli air campaign continues, targeting what it calls terrorist command posts, weapon depots, and tunnel networks. Local media report heavy casualties and widespread destruction. International mediators, including Egypt and Qatar, have been working tirelessly behind the scenes to restore calm, but so far neither side has shown any willingness to compromise. The United Nations has condemned the renewed violence, urging both Israel and Hamas to exercise restraint and return to negotiations. The White House released a statement expressing deep concern over the collapse of the ceasefire and calling for an immediate end to hostilities. European leaders have echoed similar sentiments, warning that continued conflict could lead to a humanitarian catastrophe. Inside Gaza, the streets are filled with fear and anger. Thousands of people have been displaced once again after losing their homes. In the latest strikes, humanitarian organizations warn that access to food and medicine is rapidly diminishing, and that if the fighting continues, the region could face a major crisis within days. Meanwhile, Israeli citizens living near the Gaza border are spending nights in bomb shelters as military convoys move toward the south, indicating that a possible ground operation may be Under consideration, analysts believe Hamas's announcement of a new war is both a military and political move aimed at demonstrating strength after facing internal criticism for agreeing to the ceasefire in the first place by framing Israel's actions as a violation. Hamas seeks to rally public support and justify renewed military confrontation. This strategy has historically helped the group regain influence within Gaza and the broader Arab world, but it comes at a tremendous cost to civilians trapped in the crossfire. In Israel, there is growing frustration over the repeated breakdowns in ceasefire agreements. Many citizens are demanding stronger action to permanently end rocket attacks from Gaza, while others are calling for diplomatic solutions to avoid further bloodshed. The Israeli military leadership insists that it remains focused on defending the country and ensuring the safety of its people, but warns that Hamas's provocations cannot go unanswered military. Analysts predict that if rocket attacks continue, Israel may launch a larger-scale campaign similar to Operation Guardian of the Walls or Protective Edge. The region's political climate adds another layer of complexity. Iran and Hezbollah have both voiced support for Hamas, accusing Israel of escalating tensions for political gain. In contrast, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, and the United Arab Emirates have called for restraint, emphasizing the need to avoid regional destabilization. This divergence in responses reflects the deep divisions in Middle Eastern politics, where alliances are constantly shifting based on national interests and ideological positions. The renewed violence also threatens to derail ongoing diplomatic talks between Israel and several Arab nations aimed at strengthening regional cooperation and economic ties. The timing of this escalation is particularly sensitive as global attention is divided by other conflicts and crises, leaving the Middle East once again teetering on the edge of a major confrontation that could reshape the balance of power. Inside Gaza, Hamas militants are reportedly mobilizing units while releasing footage of new weapon systems, including upgraded rocket launchers and anti-tank missiles. These videos are meant to project power and send a message that Hamas remains capable of challenging Israel's military superiority. However, Israeli intelligence sources claim that much of Hamas's arsenal has been degraded by previous operations, and that the current attacks are driven more by political pressure than strategic calculation. For civilians, the suffering continues on both sides of the border. Families in Israel spend nights in bunkers as air raid sirens blare through cities, while Gazan families endure relentless bombings with little to no access to safe zones. International aid groups have urged both parties to allow humanitarian corridors to deliver medical supplies, food, and water, but efforts remain stalled amid the ongoing exchanges of fire. The coming days are crucial. Military experts warn that the situation could escalate into a full-scale war if neither side backs down. Israel's military readiness is at its peak, with air and naval forces mobilized along the border, while Hamas's political wing continues to issue defiant statements vowing to resist until what they call Israeli aggression ends. Regional mediators fear that if this spiral continues, international intervention may become inevitable. Observers note that the rhetoric on both sides has hardened beyond reconciliation. Hamas has accused Israel of targeting civilians and destroying infrastructure deliberately, while Israel insists that Hamas hides its weapons within civilian areas, using human shields. Each side presents its version of events, while global audiences struggle to separate facts from propaganda. The conflict unfolds. The human cost grows with every passing hour. Hospitals in Gaza report shortages of critical supplies, while Israeli emergency services respond to constant alerts across southern districts. The psychological toll is immense. Children in both territories live in constant fear, and parents struggle to provide a sense of safety amidst chaos, despite global calls for peace. Both sides seem entrenched in their positions with no immediate end in sight. The collapse of yet another ceasefire demonstrates how fragile the balance is in one of the most volatile regions of the world. The pattern of truce and Violence appears to repeat endlessly, driven by mistrust, political agendas, and the unresolved issues at the heart of the Israel-Palestinian conflict. In conclusion, this latest flare-up underscores the deep-rooted hostility and the failure of repeated diplomatic efforts to bring lasting peace to the region, with Hamas vowing to punish Israel and Israel promising firm retaliation. The cycle of attack and counterattack continues, leaving destruction, grief, and uncertainty in its wake. The next few days will reveal whether the situation escalates into another full-scale war, or whether international pressure can restore even a fragile pause in the fighting, as the world watches with concern. The people of Gaza and Israel once again face the devastating reality of war.